Thank you everybody for coming. I'm excited to share with you some information about somebody that I find very fascinating. So I'll start you off with a quote. So never lose an opportunity of urging a practical beginning, however small, for it is wonderful how often in such matters the mustard seed germinates and roots itself. Everydaypower.com. I first became interested in Florence when I took a medical terminology class in high school. I am also pursuing a degree in nursing, and she is considered by many to be the founder of modern nursing. Since getting this informative speech assignment, I have further researched who Florence Nightingale was and the impact she had. Florence Nightingale had many unique characteristics. Nightingale was fluent in English, French, German, and Italian. She also had a decent hold on both Latin and classical Greek. Her father, a wealthy Cambridge grad, personally oversaw young Florence's education, learning everything from mathematics to philosophy to Shakespearean literature. Despite her parents' objections, she chose to pursue nursing at a young age. Nursing didn't garner much respect back in 1837. Generally, it was associated with low social status and rampant alcoholism. Lousy wages also forced many women who entered the field to make ends meet by engaging in a bit of prostitution on the side. So when 16-year-old Nightingale announced that she felt called to become a nurse, her parents weren't thrilled, but their determined daughter's mind was made up, and in 1850 she finally started learning the craft. 3 years later, Nightingale became the superintendent of a London-based women's hospital, mentalfloss.com. In 1849, Nightingale refused a marriage proposal from a suitable gentleman, Richard Monckton Miles, who had pursued her for years. She explained her reason for turning him down, saying that while he stimulated her intellectually and romantically, her moral, active nature called for something beyond a domestic life. Determined to pursue her true calling despite her parents' objections, Nightingale eventually enrolled as a nursing student in 1850 and 51 at the Institution of Protestant Deaconess in Kaiserwerth, Germany. Now that you have a little insight into who she was, let's look at how she impacted the medical profession. Florence Nightingale is thought of by many to have pioneered nursing. Nightingale ran a field hospital during the Crimean War with 38 volunteers. The famous Lady with the Lamp, so called for her habit of patrolling the wards even at night, noticed while in Crimea that more soldiers in her care were dying from infectious disease than were dying from wounds. She thought this was due to overcrowding and malnutrition, but her proposed solutions, better ventilation and better sanitation, were effectively the foundation of modern nursing. BritishLibrary.uk. This 1850s conflict in which Britain and France clashed with Russia over the Slavic Empire's invasion of the Turkish territory turned Nightingale into a Victorian celebrity. Nightingale was friends with UK War Secretary Sidney Herbert, and he gave her permission to round 38 volunteers and treat the wounded at the field hospital in Scutari. Cleanliness wasn't the facility's strong suit. Feces littered the floors, rats scampered through the hallways, and clean linens were a rare commodity. 42.7% of admitted patients died in February 1855. Clearly, Nightingale deduced there was a link between poor sanitation and the high mortality rate. She soon implemented strict hygiene rules that whittled the number down to 2% by June. She used her influence to bring about significant changes at home and abroad. Between 1871 and 1875, long after the Crimean War was over, she successfully pushed for legislation that would force extant buildings into connecting with main drainage. The results speak for themselves. By 1935, Britain's national life expectancy had increased by 20 years. During the American Civil War, both sides tried to profit from Nightingale's advice. Both the Union and the Confederacy were obsessed with proper ventilations of their hospitals, which were specifically built in accordance with her theories. mentalfloss.com. Now that we are aware of how she impacted the nursing field, let's look at the legacy she left behind. Florence Nightingale is thought of to left behind a huge legacy. She has her own museum, the Florence Nightingale Museum, which sits at the site of the original Nightingale Training School for Nurses and houses more than 2,000 artifacts commemorating the life and career of the Angel of Crimea. Bibliography.com. Home for nurses at St. Thomas Hospital in London, the Nightingale Home and Training School for Nurses opened its doors to trainees in July 1860 as part of a newly built St. Thomas Hospital in London. One of the first institutions to teach nursing and midwifery as a formal profession, the training school was dedicated to communicating the philosophy and practice of its founder and patron, Florence Nightingale. BritishLibrary.uk. An annual observance held on May 12th that commemorates the birth of Florence Nightingale, the foundational philosopher of modern nursing. The event, established in 1974 by the International Council of Nurses, also serves to highlight the important role nurses fulfill in the healthcare. Britannica.com and mentalfloss.com. In conclusion, Florence Nightingale, a well-educated woman, transformed the way we look at hygiene and sanitation. Her legacy is one that will have generational impact. I leave you with another quote. I attribute my success to this. I never gave or took an excuse. thenerdynurse.com. Thank you very much.
Well done.